Happy Hump Day from the Plant Based Morning Show. It's October 12th. We got a fun show planned today. As usual, these shows are seeming to evolve in this type of stuff we're covering, and I'm pretty happy with how that's going. So hopefully everybody else is enjoying it as well. Doug's going to be coming in here in just a minute. As always, the podcast continues to crank. So quick reminder, if you are here at the live, that the podcast version of this does exist. And anytime you want, you can download missed episodes or old episodes or whatever you haven't caught. So I'm adding Doug now, and then we will get into it. In the meantime, what else to discuss? Oh, there he is. No need for meantime. How's it going, Doug?
All right, Matt, how are you?
I am good. Excited to do another one.
Excited for another episode of the morning show. I know I am.
Morning show continues to get some action. We get a ton of incoming requests, even more than No Meat Athlete Radio.
Yeah, it's
from
funny.
People who want to be on or be a part. A ton of people from the Beyond Meat, or not Beyond Meat, the plant-based meat world. Different companies, marketing firms, research companies. It's kind of interesting that I guess we've branded ourselves as the fake meat podcast. So maybe we shouldn't evolve our content at all, but I don't know. I think maybe just the way we talk about meat, instead of being just super excited about new buffalo wings or whatever, we can actually talk intelligently about some of it. I don't know, or we just keep being excited.
Maybe we're just the new kids on the block, and people are excited about it, and
could just be that.
In a couple of weeks, we might be scratching, at people's doors, banging on people's doors.
Possible.
But
I don't think so. There aren't many people willing to do this every day.
No.
Out on our own backs for that. Doug, how did your thing go? I did not show up, admittedly, at the 4. It moved to 4:30, which threw me for a loop. It was it moved from 4:30 to 4.
4:30 to 4.
This is your infomercial appearance on Amazon for Prime Day. How did that go?
Yeah, Amazon Early Access Prime Day. Here's a little plug. You can get a bunch of complimentary products at a major discount. I went live on Amazon, and because Amazon has like this Amazon TV or something, I don't really know how it works still. Although in doing my research, I was watching what other people were doing, and there was this lady in like full on like masks and protective gear as she was hammering different electronics to see if they'd break and things like that.
Okay.
And people were going all out. So I felt like I needed to bring the enthusiasm, bring the energy.
Right.
I would love a redo because I feel like I finally got in my groove towards the end, but it was fun. I danced while the blender was going, did a little Taylor Swift sing along, and did some tasting of different products, and it was a good time. It was fun.
Okay. Was there a big hook like Mighty Putty? The guy was pulling an airplane with his teeth using Mighty Putty or something. And ShamWow, I mean, does miraculous things. The Blendtec blends a golf ball. Did you do any of that? Anything like that?
No, I didn't quite. It was mostly dancing, and I drank Gut Nurture. I did some tasting notes on Gut Nurture.
Oh wow!
It was like I was sipping wine. So, I mean, that's about as big as it got. But I had a good time doing it, and I kept waiting for you to chime in, and so you could make fun of me. But
I was downstairs cooking. Actually, I was at the grocery store, and then I was cooking that chickpea soup that I mentioned that I found on the beat, and it was billed as like you could make it for 30 cents per serving or something like that, or maybe it was 80 cents per serving. So I was excited to do that. I found out those prices were a little bit exaggeratedly low on the different ingredients. Like they said, I don't know. Somehow they said the can of fire roasted tomatoes, they called that like 27 cents or something. And I was like, you can't get that for under $1.50 in a normal store.
No way.
It's just a 6x underestimate. So that happened several times. But the stew turned out really good, and it was still a really cheap meal. But it actually turned out great. So if you go, I think it's on the Beats homepage still. It's like authentic chickpea Tuscan stew or something. The whole family loved it. So that was a hit.
All right, Matt, I got a question for you and the rest of the audience. What is your favorite? So if someone was looking for a Prime deal, I don't know if any of these things are on sale, but if you were looking for a way to enhance your kitchen, elevate your kitchen, what's your favorite kitchen item that you would search on Amazon to see if it was a discount?
Like I already have it and I'm getting another one?
Yeah, you have it now, but like for other people.
I think enough. Too many people don't have a tofu press. If you're vegan or vegetarian and you eat tofu even like twice a month, if you get a tofu press and you press the water out of it, it doesn't, it takes 30 minutes of forethought. You just do that ahead of time, put it in there. I don't know. I mean, not an exciting idea, but it happens. It works really well compared to stacking up pots and pans and napkins and all that stuff like we used to do. So that's a simple thing. I don't have any gadgets. I really don't. I think we always very careful about what we bring into the kitchen because past experience of drawers overflowing and all that. So I don't have anything. What do you have? What do you do?
Uh,
That popcorn
so
thing.
the popcorn thing. That's a great idea. The perfect popper, or whatever it was called. I forget what it's called. The silicone popcorn thing. I don't know. We, maybe. I mean, a lame answer, but the Vitamix, right? I mean, we use it all the time. That's probably aside from our toaster oven, that's definitely the kitchen item that we use the most.
Cool.
Pan on top of my tofu to press it says Page. Person.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that. It's fine. But then what?
Carson.
Paper towels and you kill the environment.
Yeah,
Doug wouldn't like that.
Air
I moved away from
fryer.
that a long time ago. Yeah, air fryer is a good tool for sure. I used my air fryer recently to dry the Calabrian peppers, which I put in my soup yesterday.
Oh yeah,
and that worked out really well. They were delicious.
There was a question about your soup. What did you use for the protein?
Chickpeas. Chickpeas are the protein. Let's not forget that, right? We don't need to put Beyond sausage in all of our things now to call it the protein. We had chickpeas, which are also the fiber and also the carbohydrate and the protein. So that's what I did.
All right, but not too much of them, right? I mean, you're gonna be having GI stress, right? IBS.
I actually forgot entirely about that and somehow survived the night without any issues, despite putting 6 cups of protein of chickpeas into the soup. I made them fresh. It was good. It's a good day. Okay. People are still talking. They want Vitamix to be on sale. Doug, is the Prime still happening? Prime Day?
Yeah, today and yesterday.
Okay.
So yeah, get in there. We got 35% off or 30% off chocolate protein, 35% off of greens, daily greens. So a lot of good deals on the compliment side. I know. Sorry, I don't mean to be doing this. My bad. But yeah, it's still going.
No longer unbiased. Okay. Good. Well, let's get to what we've got today. Nothing. Well, it's good stuff, but it's we don't have any vegan meats that I'm over the moon excited about. The closest thing we have to that is Beyond Meals are coming to the UK, at least. I mean, at least it is thought, because Beyond Meat apparently recently applied to register the trademark Beyond Meals with the UK's Intellectual Property Office. This is from vegeconomist.com. And not much more information than that, other than at one time they collaborated with Wicked Kitchen, who I mistakenly called a restaurant a while ago. Chad Sarno and his brother run Wicked Kitchen. And since Chad Sarno is a chef, I think he was a chef at Whole Foods, their executive sort of guy who planned their food. I thought this was an actual restaurant, but I think it's just a brand of plant-based products, and they've acquired Good Catch, that one that I was hyping up for a while.
Oh yeah, okay.
So anyway, Beyond collaborated with them. They've got a bunch of different frozen things, and they made plant-based ready meals at Tesco. I don't know what Tesco is. I think it must be a UK store. I keep seeing it because Quorn has a new buffalo chicken patty thing that is at Tesco's, and I've never been to a Tesco, so I'm guessing it's like a Costco, but it's in the UK. That'd be my guess. Anyway, so these are ready meals, and I guess ready meals is kind of a category that's happening. Plant-based News, about a couple weeks ago, had a sponsored thing, granted, about our Brits ready for, or no, maybe it wasn't Brits, but it is for Brits.
The world needs more plant-based eaters.
There you go.
Are vegan ready meals the way to go? Yeah.
So interesting spin on a headline there. I don't know why we need to incorporate the world needs more plant-based eaters, but whatever. So it's ready meals, and these are things that, like, I think they're frozen, and you just put them in the microwave or the oven, and you get a meal. They're Hungry Man's, but they're for vegan and they're healthy.
Yeah.
These things exist in the form of Purple Carrot has some, I believe. What's that other company? There was the other Campbell guy. I think it was Nelson Campbell had. It was a documentary. It was kind of
isn't a fire in there. What's it called? Engine 2.
Engine 2. I don't know if they do frozen meals. They cut back a lot of their product line that was in Whole Foods. I'm not sure if they had frozen or not.
I think they used to.
I'm totally Plant Power is what it is. Plant Power.
Yeah.
That's who had these things. Anyway, you can get pretty decent vegan frozen meals. I think maybe they're a little high in sodium, some of them. But anyway, so there's a company called This. Remember, like, This Isn't Meat. This Isn't Pork, Sausages, and Mash is one of the things. That's this British company that is doing this. But now Beyond Meat is throwing their hat in the ring with Beyond Meals. And I think this is kind of cool. What I like about this, Doug, just to keep the thread going from yesterday, or maybe it was a couple days ago, we didn't like that the guy who tried in New Zealand, who tried the plant-based, thing for a week for his whole family, and he just replaced all the meats on his plate with plant-based meats. Our complaint with him was that he didn't like make meals and then just incorporate plant-based meats. He just made normal, like, meat-centric meals and just replaced the meat.
Right.
And no wonder it didn't go well. But I think what's good about these ready meals is that people can get something like the lasagna, which that guy mentioned. You can get, a meal that has some meat in there that's accenting it, or plant meat accenting it, but is still like made by a chef, or somebody designed this meal to be a good thing. It's not just someone throwing the plant-based meat on a plate and saying, "Here's our dinner." So I think it's a good thing. I think it will help people work in more of these non-animal meals into their diet. If all they have to do is stick it in the microwave, and it turns out fairly good and fairly healthy.
Yeah, I don't really know who eats frozen meals. I think a lot of people do. I know a lot of people do. I mean, they have like entire aisles dedicated to frozen meals in the grocery store. So I don't really know who they're for. Like, I wonder if it's people for lunch, like a quick lunch at work, or if it's people maybe live by themselves, or want an easy dinner at night, and don't want to cook something. I think this is a good thing. I don't think I will be drawn to it that frequently. Every once in a while, we have a frozen meal. We certainly did that when, like, right after both of our babies came. We would lean on some frozen meals from time to time. But I don't know. I think this is a good thing because it's very approachable. Like mash and sausage, green curry with chicken, with plant-based chicken. I think that's approachable and probably delicious. Those sauces look really good.
Yeah. We've shared a few. Brendan Brazier, our friend of No Meat Athlete for a long time, has a company called Fire Road, and they're doing these. I think the co-founder of Fire Road is the brother of Ethan Brown from Beyond Meat, if I'm not mistaken. So they feature Beyond Meat in a lot of their stuff. It's a big partnership. Those are really good. They're protein rich meals. They're kind of going after the person who's trying to get protein. They're built towards, or geared towards, athletes a little bit. So Fire Road's a decent meal service, and I've had those. They were really good when I had them. To answer your question though, like who actually eats these things, our problem was, like, we tried to have a frozen meal night one night when the family, because we had a bunch of these Fire Road things and we wanted to all try them. The problem is we only have one microwave, so it just takes forever to get everyone's dinner out, and you can't really all eat dinner that way. So although it sounds like a great fit for families, right? Pay $20 maybe, and your dinner's covered. There's no cleanup, there's no cooking, and the kids are going to eat it because it's something that they get to pick or that they like. Sounds great, but it just doesn't work that well for families, at least as I've tried. So I think the bachelor, the single person, maybe the college kid who's venturing into
college
this.
kid, sure, okay.
I don't know, but that's who they're probably for, and I don't know. Good old days. It'd be nice to just do this for dinner, not to cook and stuff.
Totally. Man, I had a roommate in college. Speaking of college days, I had a roommate in college who would microwave meals all the time, at any time of day. He played a lot of video games, and so he would be up in the middle of the night, like microwaving Hungry Man meals, and like the whole room. You're in like a tiny room, and the whole room would just smell like. Oh man, that was gross. Anyway, so at least now it would be a plant-based meal.
Speaking of college, I don't think we're going to cover this story eventually, but it's just because you guys did a college show, you and McKenna, a little while ago. But Aramark, which is the company that, when I was in college, that was the provider of the dining hall foods. They're doing a big expansion of their plant-based options. So they're trying to bring more plant-based options to college kids. So that is a good thing. And we definitely did a ton of frozen pizzas and frozen meals when I was in college. So if this had existed back then, and I was at least into healthy eating and believed that this was healthy, then it would have been great. You don't have to be vegan to do these things. I really don't think. I think if you're just like a college gym rat guy and you believe that there's more to life than meat protein, right, this would be great.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm here for it.
Another follow-up.
So wait, is it the way? Is it are vegan ready meals the way to go to bring more plant-based eaters into the world? That's the answer to the headline.
I don't know about that. I really don't. I don't know if any of these. I'm evolving in my thought around these things. I don't think any of these are the way to bring more plant-based eaters into the world. I think they're the way to get people to eat somewhat less meat, and that's probably the best we're going to do for a very long time. So if we can get people to reduce, a third of their meals or half of their meals and replace them with this, that's pretty easy sell, I think, for most people. I don't know. But like, to me, a lot of these meals, you're not going to notice the missing thing. No one's saying then you can't have the steak when you go out to the restaurant for your dinner. But like, if everything else you replace with this, or often you replace these things, I think that's a very possible future outcome.
Yep, I agree.
All right. Next one, to follow up again on something that we talked about last week. We talked, I think it was last week, about how in New York City, 3 different hospitals were now making plant-based meals the default, and that was big news that was happening. What I didn't realize then was that was a test, and it has worked so well that they have now expanded it, because I think that was an expansion of some doing it for lunches. So now they were now doing it for dinners at 3 hospitals. And now the news is that all New York City hospitals now serve vegan food as the default. So this is from plantbasednews.org. This, you have to imagine, is the work of Eric Adams, who's the mayor of New York. As I said, he was on No Meat Athlete Radio a while ago, and he's I don't know the name of his initiative or what he's done, but he's definitely pushing a lot of this sustainability and health stuff. I really like this, and what is to me sort of astounding, maybe not astounding, but interesting. 60% of the patients who are given this default option as their choices, right? This is like what you get by default, and of course you can choose before it's served, I assume, to get something different. 60% are keeping the vegan dishes. They're sticking with that default choice, and 95% of them said they were satisfied with the choice. So that's great. I mean, that just shows you the power of setting a default, right? Because you're not going to, if this wasn't the default, you wouldn't get 60% of people to go switch to this for sure.
No.
So that's a huge thing. And I think it's, to me, like, I love that's a great way of doing things. You don't force people to do this, make it a choice, maybe educate on the benefits. And I think it's great.
I do too. I'm just so excited about this, both in the hospital setting, but also what we could learn in like a cafeteria, like a school cafeteria or a an office cafeteria or something like that. Like if you have the default be a plant-based meal, doesn't mean you can't serve the other stuff, but the people will choose that oftentimes, and wait, like you said, way more than would probably choose it if it was just like third on the list or something like that.
Mm-hmm. How can I apply that to my own life? How can I have my default be not alcohol, and then just on every now and then I make the choice to get the alcohol? I guess if I had a fridge full of good beers that I was actually attracted to, that were.
Yeah.
So a couple people have suggested Athletic Brewing to me. Someone DM'd me about it, and I meant to respond, but I didn't. Sorry. And someone else commented it here. I've had one Athletic Brewing beer I got, and I ended up dumping out 5 of them. I got a 6-pack of IPA, and I hated it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and it wasn't because it didn't have alcohol. It just wasn't. The hop flavor or something, I just was not into it.
Yeah.
So I got to try again.
They have a hazy one that I have enjoyed.
Okay.
You can get it, at least here in Nashville, you can get it at a lot of bars. Like if they have a non-alcoholic beer, then it's often.
Oh, like on draft? Or is it a bottle or what?
No, it can.
Can. Okay.
But if you want to try one, that would probably be the way to go. So you don't have to buy a 6-pack, although it's probably the same price at a bar as a 6-pack. Yeah, I've had the hazy a few times, and it's pretty good. But really, they have everything. They have Katie used to get like a porter or some sort of dark one, maybe a stout last winter. And they have gotten the whole line of athletic beers or of non-alcoholic beers.
Right. Fig Sisters 2 says go for the darker brews, and you just said the porters. I was literally ready to say that the best alcoholic beer I've had, or non-alcoholic beer I've had, probably was a stout. I forget who made it. But you just wouldn't think stout and non-alcoholic to me. It just doesn't seem like it's a fit. But it was great. I loved it, and that's what I need to try more of. I believe Guinness has a non-alcoholic Guinness, which just seems like a contradiction. I don't know why it seems so weird to me that you could make those kind of beers non-alcoholic. Obviously, it's different.
Weird, yeah.
It just seems like they'd be missing the body or something that they depend on. But the one I had didn't. So that's a really good recommendation. I'm going to try that, and I'll have to try the Athletic Brewing one because I'm not ready to give up on them just yet because so many people have recommended it as one that they like.
The best one in my opinion is the Sierra Nevada one. No, Sam Adams one. The Sam Adams hazy something.
That's delicious.
It is so good.
Yep. That is good.
Have you had hop water?
Yes, I have had a hop water. I bought one from recently. I think it was maybe from Sierra Nevada.
Okay.
That seemed right.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was kind of good. I was drinking it. It was summertime. I was kind of bringing it to the pool in the hot day, and it was like almost nicer than a beer on a hot day. I don't know if like as an evening kind of end of day, like this is my wind down reward. I don't know if I would go for it then.
Okay. I haven't had it yet.
I like it. Sometimes I don't know. Like hop tea is a thing. This isn't like some degenerate move to get hop water in a can. It's just I don't know. I wish it was more normal. Steven says the 0% Guinness is better than I expected. So that's good to hear.
Good.
All right. I'm gonna have to try that. That's on my list. I will get that and I will report back. Assuming it's vegan, like like other Guinness is. I don't know actually, but other Guinness now is vegan. Okay, enough beer. That was not on the list. Any more, Doug? Was there any more about that? Maybe that was it about
I don't think so.
the hospital. I thought I had one more point to make about hospitals. Oh, I know what it was. It was that 1% of the patients who were doing this stuff, who were being surveyed about this, 1% reported themselves as vegan or vegetarian. Very very different
Whoa.
from the 10% of average that we're hearing these days, which I don't believe, but I do believe 5 or 6%. And is that a sign that vegans and vegetarians end up in the hospital 80% less?
Yeah, that's
I
what
don't
I was
know.
gonna say.
It's very possible.
I think we can definitively conclude that vegans and vegetarians are in the hospital less based on that data.
We can't do that, but I don't think it's a far cry. I guess I haven't seen much data. I don't think you can be plant-based for very long. Most people and continue to be obese, and it's you're not likely to keep progressing your heart disease. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there were fewer plant-based people in the hospital because it kept them out of the hospital. But who knows? We like you said, we can't really definitively say that.
Speaking of exaggerating health benefits,
perfect segue. I love it. All right, so I've got 3 different things today. We're not going to go into too depth of any of them, but all of them kind of struck me as interesting as far as the conversation goes with how is this message being spread. We've kind of made ourselves, Doug, not on purpose really, but by calling out some of the vegan news agencies, we've made ourselves sort of the watchdog. We're kind of now when they go too far with stuff, we are calling them on it. I don't know if that's a good role or not. I don't know if we need that. Maybe we do because the question here. This is from I guess let's do Fast Company first. This is a Fast Company article. It's back from July 19th. The headline is "Vegans need to stop exaggerating the health benefits of a plant-based diet," and that struck me as interesting because I have believed that for a very very long time. I think Doug, when you and I traveled to the New York City Veg Fest, do you remember that? Back in like 2012, probably. I remember we were next to someone. It was fun. I remember we were next to somebody, some other booth. I forget. I don't know what they were doing, but they were getting people to sign up for something. And I just remember the stuff that came out of their mouth about what the vegan diet was going to do for you, and especially a raw vegan diet, and how it would prevent you from getting cancer and maybe even cure and reverse cancer. I mean, I don't know what they were saying. And I'm not saying any of this is just patently untrue or impossible because it's who knows. You hear a lot of anecdotal stuff. You hear that from other diets too.
Sure.
But just the way it was being presented from the sort of position of authority as being a presenter at an event or something, I don't know. It just really bugged me, and I just started thinking that it is just a horrible look to be spouting these ridiculous claims about any diet. On the other hand, that's what diets on the internet do. That's what people do when they get excited about their diet. So if you don't do that, then maybe your diet's gonna not seem so exciting, and as a whole, it just won't be the big trendy thing. But maybe we don't need to be the trendy thing. Maybe it'll just sort of prove it over time. Anyway, the Fast Company article goes into a bunch of examples. Some of them I didn't totally love. They called out one particular headline about avocados. Quickly find it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was from a Bloomberg article. The headline boldly claims 1 avocado a week cuts risk of heart disease by 20%. And then a closer look reveals that it was not causal relationship; it was a correlation. And so, I don't consider that a vegan thing at all. I know avocado is a vegan food. That's what the media does. They find studies about anything, any diet. It could be an opposite of a vegan diet, could be a political thing, whatever. They find something, they twist it around so that it is a compelling thing to click on or share, and then they present it. I'm not faulting them for that. It doesn't make them evil people. This is just how the media makes money, and it's how our system is set up. So I don't know. I think that does not belong in an article like this. But so anyway, they called out a bunch of points about people just going too far with stuff. And I agree that we do. I do think in the era of the plant-based doctors, in shortly after the forks over knives period, there was a lot of stuff about arterial inflammation and reversal of heart disease and things that kind of iffy, that not a ton of data. Maybe there were very small studies that demonstrated that this happened, but some of those were very very small, like 7 or 12 people where they got them to reverse heart disease or something. Really really small stuff. So I'm with the point here. I do think we need to avoid that. I don't know where to go from here though, and I hate to present a complaint without a solution. What do you do if we can't? I don't know. Health to me, health is like the way we sell this thing.
Right.
But how do you do it without going too far? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, so the problem is, I mean, it's twofold, right? I mean, you could actually, I mean, somebody could get in a lot of trouble if they had cancer, for example, or diagnosed with cancer and decide and read an article that a raw vegan diet can cure it, and then just decided to forego any sort of treatment and just follow this. They could die from that. Maybe it would help them, maybe it would. I don't know, but they could be in real trouble. Where I think the like more common trouble, or I guess not trouble, but issue is that there's a lot of promise that if you switch to a vegan diet, you're going to immediately feel great, and you're going to have tons of energy, and you're going to lose a bunch of weight, and you're going to just feel better than you ever have and perform better than you ever have before. And for a lot of people, that doesn't really happen, or it certainly doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
It may take a lot of time, or if it does happen overnight, then a couple weeks later they're gonna crash and be super hungry or whatever, and it's gonna so like I think that is the bigger problem, is this overpromise of what switching to a vegan diet can make you feel like, when I mean, you still get sick when you're a vegan, you still get you still struggle with certain things, you still can't run world record races. Most of us can't. So it's not like this like super. I mean, it is a superpower. I mean, it really does make me feel much better than I did before. But it took a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. I had to learn how to do it properly. And I think people need to understand that. And so when you're making big promises, when you're making big claims, it can just, if people don't experience that, then they're just going to give up on it. They're gonna be like, oh, that was fake. That was nonsense. It's not for me. It doesn't work for me. And so then they never come back to it. And I think that is kind of just as big of a problem as an overpromise around a health claim that would maybe get somebody in trouble down the road. But so here's a question. I kind of think that this certainly isn't a vegan issue, right? And this article says that too, that any kind of niche diet is makes big claims like this. But I don't even know if it's a diet thing. I kind of think it's just as much any sort of lifestyle, anything, or political belief or thing that you're into. People naturally gravitate towards the positive stuff. And if they're trying to convince people to do it or want to promote it, it's hard not to like get really excited about that thing you read, or that that documentary you saw, and want to just like spew all that stuff out, and then it kind of morphs into something that's even bigger than maybe the original claim was meant to be. And I mean, that happens everywhere, right? I mean, that happens with anything. It's kind of natural human instinct, in my opinion. But it is detrimental, I think, to the growth of the movement.
Well, so I agree with all of that except for it being detrimental. I think it's a horrible look. I hate when people do it. I don't want to be friends with those people who are like just crazy about whatever thing they're into, and that's all they want to talk about, and they don't care about saying truthful things. They just care about saying whatever will, make their thing seem better. But it's going to happen with every single cause. And so like, I'm almost thinking like, who cares? Like, yeah, there's always going to be a segment of people who do this. Let's not all do that, because that wouldn't be human nature either, to have everyone start doing this. But like, I don't know, it's going to happen. And the diet that's going to last, or the lifestyle, or whatever trend we're trying to push by making all these false claims about it, or at least exaggerated claims about it, the ones that last are the ones that are going to be able to back up the talk over time. And to me, that's what a plant-based diet does.
What if it's impossible to back up the talk? I mean, like, what if it's just? I mean, these claims can sometimes be so outlandish that
definitely, yes. I mean, of course, we're not going to back up this just cures cancer automatically. Right. What I mean is, if it turns out over a long time that a plant-based diet is shown to be the healthier one, and the studies, or from just people, or just like it just becomes a kind of known thing, which hopefully I think we're moving in that direction. The past 20 years, the progress this movement has made, and from my perception anyway, is that people think of it as a health food diet now, instead of a what used to be like a malnourishment diet. People think of strong vegan athletes, and that's not, the plant-built people, right? This is not a strange thing anymore. So I think as people just get to see this more, those crazy exaggerated claims don't help us, but I feel like eventually those people are just going to be dismissed. And I think that's already happening now. I think those kind of vegans are now in their own little section. And I think most people don't take them seriously. They go to meetups, they go to those, veggie meetups, and they just talk about how good this is and how meat is poison and all that. And I don't think people care about them anymore. I really don't. So I don't know.
I don't want to dismiss half of the vegan community, but
No, it's the purple-haired vegans. That's I'm
the
sure we've
purple
got a
hair
bunch of them too.
vegans.
But
Okay. You know, I guess the good thing about these about the kind of big claims, the big bold claims, and I mean even like the avocado headline or whatever, even though it has nothing to do with the vegan diet in general, but those big claims, like if the more you read them, right, the more it kind of like seeps into your brain, and you're like, even if you don't actually read the full article and get down to like what it actually is,
Mhm.
if you just keep seeing plant-based equals reduced heart risk, or plant-based uh, equals reduced cancer risk. If you, the more and more you read that kind of thing, the more it kind of seeps into your belief, and so then you can begin to make that association that a plant-based diet is healthier. So in that sense, I think it's good. The key, I think, is to really hit on the stuff that is true, that is proven, that is things that that people really do experience, so that when they read that a plant-based diet can help you lose weight, or a plant-based diet can reduce inflammation and help you recover faster as an athlete, like that stuff is true, or it seems to be, and it's an experience that most of us have felt and had in real life. So the more the more we hammer people with that stuff, the more likely they are, I think, to make the switch and then stick when they actually experience it in real life.
Yeah, well, I think if if it keeps backing up the basic idea that this is healthy, if studies keep being done that show this is healthy for us, it helps lower the risk of heart disease, lessens obesity, all these good things. Media outlets are going to take the headlines and twist them, and create these things that attract attention. As long as there's some actual substance behind it, some steak behind the sizzle, then fine. I think that's what we need, and that's time will tell if that's what happens. Okay.
Yep.
Moving on. In the interest of time, I'm going to cover two in one here. We've got two. One from the Washington Post. It's plant-based diet down but not out. And then the other one is, are meat alternatives healthy, from The Beat. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because the way they present it is something that is, to me, a little bit problematic. The Washington Post, like, their plant-based diet is down but not out. Basically, what they do is they cite that what we've been saying, the plant-based meat industry is kind of tanking, from depending on how you look at it. But if you're from the outside, you're not on the inside, like so many people in the vegan world like to be in this bubble. If you look at it from the outside, it's pretty apparent that it is not meeting expectations. And the plant-based meats they're in a lot of trouble. Those companies going out of business, laying people off, different stuff like that.
Stocks are tanking.
Yes, people biting people's noses. I mean, it's a bad
it's
state right now.
It's a war zone out there, man. It's crazy.
We think it's a little speed bump, but it's happening. So anyway, the Washington Post article points all that stuff out, and then basically says, but it's not out, and like don't count it out yet, because it's good for the environment and it's healthy. Like that's the point. Is like it's not going away because these things are here. And to me, like, it's like I don't know why they wrote an article about that, but I guess it's kind of like what we were saying, whereas I think you brought up the point that this was like the .com bubble. They're missing a nifty little analogy like that makes the point. So it ends up just sounding like a vegan person who's kind of bitter that it's all crashing and saying, but don't forget it's healthy and it's sustainable, and like these same old reasons.
Come on,
Yeah,
give it a try.
It's the same old reasons we've been saying for 10 years now, more. But when it comes to these plant-based meats, so it's like this isn't working at all. But these same reasons are why it should work, and don't worry, it will. So I don't know. It did nothing for me. I guess I appreciate that it's not a just keep dumping on the plant-based meats, but I don't know. I don't get it. More interesting, unless you got a comment on that, Doug, I'll move on to the Beat one.
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. So the Beat says, are plant-based meats bad for you? And expert answers. So I first looked at this thinking, we've kind of covered that topic. We did a show about that. So I didn't want to talk, get all that again and get into all that stuff. But I wanted to see how the Beat did it, though. And you start reading this article. By the way, I loved the Beat's recipe for the Tuscan soup. I'm going to give them that credit there. It was Whole Foods. I liked it. It was nice soup. Thank you so much for that. I don't like this article at all because the thing says, is it bad for you? They start going into it. They basically say in a word or in a sentence, it's between, a beef burger and a mushroom burger. Like that's where they kind of fall. They do fairly. They point out some reasons after listing a bunch of benefits that they do point that they're highly processed, not as healthy as Whole Foods. They put a table of nutrients and they demonstrate that these things aren't all that nutritious. But then in the benefits section, they're talking about generates 90% less greenhouse gas emissions, better for the environment. just stuff. It's just, I don't know. Lower risk of, I guess, lower risk of heart disease is a good thing to consider when we're asking if they're healthy. And then in the cons, they're more expensive than meat. It's just, to me, if someone comes here looking for, are these things healthy, we don't need the sales pitch on why we should eat them. That's
Right.
really not why someone's
Right.
here. And I think it's a
Mhm.
horrible. It just, I don't know. To me, if I find that in an article, I'm out. I'm done, because I'm saying, okay, this is a preaching thing. They're just trying to convince me of this thing, and I thought I was here to read an actual like article about information of whether this was healthy or not. I kind of appreciate the discussion about whether they're healthy or not. This is not going to be a popular take. I don't think it's totally fair to just sort of dismiss them as automatically healthier than all the meat versions of the same thing. Uh, Again, with the exaggerating of health claims, like we know red meat is bad for you, especially processed red meat. So when it comes to burgers, I'm kind of on board there that a typical plant-based burger is typical than a typical red meat regular burger. But as they point out here, kind of in a different context, some of them do have higher. Some of the plant-based ones have more saturated fat than the non-plant-based ones. So if we're talking about heart disease, we don't know whether that's worse than the burger or not. There's not probably been extensive studies on the higher saturated fat plant-based meat burger in comparison to the meat. And that's my general point, is that like the meat is something that has been eaten for hundreds of thousands of years or whatever, human history, right? We know it. We're seeing that there's a lot of some problems with it, and it's overconsumption. The plant-based meat has been around. This modern type of plant-based meat has been around for a decade. And we're looking at it in the sort of reductionist fashion and saying it has this nutrient, has less of this one, more of this, more of this. When we said 20 years ago that we hated reductionism, we thought it was all about the whole food idea. So to me, it's like the burden of proof is kind of on us. And we've got this thing that's been around for a very, very short period of time. Appears when you look at it that it's healthier. But to just say automatically these things are healthier than those things across the board, I don't know. To me, that feels like exaggerated health claim that I don't like.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you're exactly right, and it's like the problem. The problem is that it's healthier than what? Like if you compare a meat burger to a plant-based burger, like I guess that's a fair comparison. I mean, I guess that's something you want to do. Since you're replacing it in the meal, then you probably want to compare it. So I guess that's fair. But I mean, obviously, a whole food burger, a black bean burger, is going to be way healthier than a Beyond Burger, and a Beyond Burger may or may not be healthier than a meat burger. I guess depending on the meat. So it's kind of a weird comparison in general. But I think really what we need to be doing is looking at what's actually in these plant-based meats. And a lot of us aren't doing that, and they vary significantly. A lot of these new ones, are maybe using fermented beans and things like that, whereas some of the other ones are just using pea protein isolate and all this other stuff. So I think that it's unfair because, I mean, of course there are different types and qualities of meat, but a ground beef burger is a ground beef burger for the most part. A plant-based meat alternative is not a plant-based meat alternative. Like they're just very different. They're very odd.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So I'll just leave it at that.
In fairness to the beat, they do call out some of the things I was talking about. Like there are regular additives to plant-based meat that are controversial, such as carrageenan. Maybe it's carrageenan. I don't know how to pronounce it. They point out some problems. Like they're not just saying these are automatically like a health food, certainly. So I do appreciate that. I think there is the temptation in a lot of these types of sites where it's aimed at a purely vegan audience to just, give them what they want to hear and say, this is health food. And, we don't need to question it. So I do appreciate that. They did a nice job of actually doing that. But yeah, I just don't, to me, in an article about how healthy they are, there is no place for environmental talk. It's not why we're here. And to me, it just discredits the article to me.
Yeah.
Not to you though, Doug. You're an environment guy. You're an
Well, no, I mean, of course. I
responder.
mean, there should be a separate article that compares the environmental impact of a Beyond Burger and a beef burger. I mean, right? I mean, that's like that is a fair comparison.
Maybe a little link at the bottom says you may also be interested in this related article.
Yeah.
And then it talks about right.
I mean, right, but we're talking about the headline is, are plant-based meats bad for you? I mean, I guess bad for you in your long-term environmental health, maybe. I don't know. But
I guess the environment, if we can't live on the planet, then I guess
they are bad for us. No, I'm with you though. I think you're right.
All right, wrapping up. Veg News every Friday they put out their like plant-based week, new foods this week review, and we don't spend enough time on it. I always mean to, but I always forget. The one that jumped out at me this week, though, Dr. Bronner's peppermint, which I know of as soap that smells delicious, and it sort of always reminds me of like those peppermint patties smell when I'm in the shower using it. They now are making chocolate, and it is in the same wrapper. Looks just like the Dr. Bronner's, that blue color that their peppermint thing, peppermint soap was in, with all the text on it. Not as much text on the chocolate wrapper, but to me, it's a cool peppermint cream. I guess I didn't know they had a chocolate line to begin with, but they do.
I didn't either. Yeah.
For some reason, I have a tremendous amount of trust of Dr. Bronner's. I think it's just the marketing, the way they write that label, and it looks like it's this old
definitely just the marketing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably been acquired by a giant brand. Maybe not. I could be wrong, but brilliant marketing, and makes me just trust them. So I'm thinking, the chocolate's probably going to be really good and healthful. It's going to taste good. I can imagine that, because they nailed the peppermint aroma with the soap. So I'm into this.
You know what I'm into is pumpkin soft serve.
Yeah, I saw that too, but then I wondered where'd you go to get the pumpkin soft serve?
I was wondering the same thing, but man,
Okay, there's a
I
shop.
love soft serve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't thought about soft serve in a long, long time.
Oh man,
I know I had a
I haven't
vegan
had
somewhere.
it in a long time. But
Yeah.
God, I love it.
Yeah. So we add that to the
Want
corn
some.
chips. Add that to the corn chips.
And sprinkle some corn chips on top, like a little crushed corn chip on top of your
Perfect
soft
food.
serve. Man, I'm in heaven. That's great.
Good. All right. Good. Well, this was fun, Doug. More controversial takes, I hope. Got some good stuff for tomorrow already, and that'll be good. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Anything else, Doug, before we go? Final thought.
No. I think this was good. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks for tuning in.
Don't exaggerate your claims.
Yeah, but that's a good final thought. Don't exaggerate the claims.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.